Welcome back to Matchday Live. How are the nerves holding up, Blues? My stomach is jumping. Thank you for joining us back on Matchday Live. I'm Natalie Pike, and I'm still joined in the studio, thankfully, by Trevor Sinclair, Andy Morrison, and Paul Dickov. So that is, of course, half-time. It is 0-0, so it is still 1-0 to City on aggregate over the two legs. But, of course, we have a big 45 minutes still to come. So, going to speak to the gents now and get their thoughts. I'm also going to get through some of your WhatsApp questions during this half-time, and we are going to be giving you the third clue on whose stat as well. So, Andy, first of all, what did you make of that first half?
Well, we weren't frightened at any time. I thought they started well. They looked dangerous, but we felt our way into the game. Dominated possession, had the best chance of the half. So I think we'd have taken that before the start of the game. But I think there's opportunities later on in the game where we can hurt them. With the bench that we have. But no, a good 45 minutes. Really, really solid performance, and I'll take that second half. Nat, you might not be able to. I will.
It's just me nerves, Andy. You know what I'm like. I'll struggle with 5 minutes to go. I'll be in bits. And Paul, Atletico Madrid certainly started off a lot different than they did in that first leg.
Yeah, they did. It looked as if they wanted to press us. When they had the ball, they wanted to get bodies going forward. But they changed very quickly after about 10 minutes because when they were trying to press us, we were beating the press with one or two passes and we were getting straight at their back five, and they'd committed bodies forward and they found it difficult to get them back. So I think Simeone's seen, he's obviously told them to go out the first 10-15 minutes, have a right good go, put pressure on Man City. We dealt with that, but then we looked so threatening and they had to revert back to their 5-4 across the middle. I mean, Griezmann's playing right wing, sitting in front of his right back at the minute, but there will be a threat going forward second half, but completely dominant performance. With the chances, we've hit the post, possibly should be 1 or 2 up. But yeah, more the second half, because at some point, and we said it before the game, that as the game goes on, and if it's still 0-0 or we go 1-0 up, they're going to have to come out and go after us. And we've got the quality on the pitch and on the bench to exploit that.
Trevor, were you surprised at all about how they were pressing and the pressure that they were showing in the first 10 minutes?
No, because I thought they might try and catch us by surprise. And as soon as the game started, it was one of them periods of the game where you just thought, I don't like this. It felt a bit awkward. It felt like we were a little bit too much jeopardy there. And you could see Pep was agitated in the technical area and he wanted to get back to the passing football, keep in possession. And like Dickov just said there, as the game went on, as we broke through that press a few times, we've kind of earned our stripes, and they've gone, there's no point pressing because we can't win it up high and we're leaving ourselves vulnerable. So they've reverted back to that, and I think from there we've controlled the game. 71% possession, very, very good chances. I think the chance, Phil Foden's first touch, by the way, it was a poor challenge on Phil Foden. We'll talk about that in a minute, but Phil Foden's first touch on the initial ball in, great little overlap, ball in from Mahrez, really good pass into an area, landed at Phil Foden's feet. His touch was just a little bit heavy, which is uncharacteristic for him. He's picked out Gundogan, good strike, just against the base of the post. But we've created good opportunities. I just think as they get more tired, we'll start to pick them off a little bit easier.
Let's get into it, because it was a really big talking point from the first half, and I know that you all feel particularly passionate about it. So we said there for the first 10 minutes, they were definitely, Atletico were definitely pressing. They put a lot of pressure on us. In the 12th minute, there was this incident with Phil Foden. Andy, for anyone that hasn't seen it, can you describe the incident for us?
I think it's one of those ones where you think it's an opportunity to leave one on and make a mark. It's obviously that Phil's going to win the ball first, and it's just a flick. You've gone through, and it's a yellow card. It's simple as that, and if it was animated and the players were surrounding the referee and screaming, you might get a referee that might even show a red because there's the intent there. And then then we see the passage of, there's blood actually from the incident. And it's, again, we were thinking that this referee, then almost 5 minutes later, the same player's been booked. So if you get away with one, you've always got one in the bag when you're that kind of mentality. And it's a yellow card, simple as that. No question, no idea why he chose not to book him.
I think, obviously, I think some of the officials were in the referee's ear, because the one he's actually booked him for was nowhere near as bad as the first one.
Absolutely.
But he doesn't make that challenge for the second one.
If he's already been booked, yeah, exactly.
Laporte in the Carabao Cup final last season, where people saying the second yellow. But he would never have made that challenge if he'd had the first yellow already. But it's a free hit for him. He knows exactly what he's doing. I don't buy that at all.
In the build-up, I said,
he's gone in there to hurt him.
Yeah, of course he has. I mean, he's got to concede that situation. He knows he's not going to get first contacts on the ball. He can see Phil's going to get there. At some stage, you have to pull out of that and say, right, OK, I'm never going to get there. Let him have that and we'll defend the next one. But at the top of the show, I said, the referees have got to be strong. They've got to officiate this properly because they are going to be aggressive. Because on a level playing field, if it's 11 men against 11 men, we're better. And we'll beat them, and that's why they have to get physical. But I wanted the official to be strong there.
It's nasty, and he knows what he's doing because the ball's going into Phil. Phil's our highest man up the pitch. He knows that. He's got a defender already covering him. So even if Phil flicks the ball on, they're in control. So he's took that, he's seen it, and he's went to hurt him there.
Do you think it's affected Phil at all?
No, I don't. I think he's going to rise to the occasion. We've seen Savic a little bit later on giving him a nudge and trying to get in his ear. And, you know, the best players in the world rise to the big occasions. And they're trying to get under his skin, and he'll have the last laugh today. And
you mentioned the first 15 minutes before. It did feel like that. They were putting a lot of pressure on us, and then the incident with Foden all come within the first 15 minutes. But then as the game went on, Andy, it felt like we got a grip of it, and as we were getting more and more comfortable as the half was progressing.
Yeah, the patterns began, you know, that we've seen, the same patterns starting through our centre-halves and building up from there. Overloading certain areas, you know, so we've always got the overload because we don't play with a 9, so we're able to work our way up to the final, you know, the final third, and then it's off the cuff then. But yeah, you know, it was quite comfy, and we looked, you know, but we don't want to be sucked into that feeling that, you know, we'll just see this through. You know, we need a goal, and I think we will get a goal, and I feel as if we get a goal 1-0, it could get a bit nasty, this, and I think we'll see a red card. If we're 1-0 up with 10-15 minutes to go, there'll be a red card in this game.
It makes me feel a little bit concerned, Trevor, for our players. At this point, I want everyone to come out fit at the end of it.
Yeah, but they know that. They know we've got a big game at the weekend, semi-final at Wembley, and they'll be playing on that and thinking, you know, let's go for this challenge. We might not really have a chance of getting there, but I'm going to go in and put the fear of God in. A little bit like the challenge on Phil. You know, you've got to be stand up and be counted in games like this. You can't be thinking about what's going on Saturday. You've got to get through this tie. So I think move the ball quickly. You know, 1 and 2 touch as they're doing. You know, they've executed it really well in that last half an hour of the first half. Continue in the second half, and I think it will open up.
So statistically wise, they say 70 or dropped 70% of the possession, 8 shots for City, although none on target, 4 corners. Atleti 1 shot, 1 on target. I do love the stats that you get from UEFA. They properly give you them lovely in detail. So they've got it at 69%. Paul, any of those stats surprise you?
No, not really. We all knew we were going to dominate the game. We'd like to see a few more attempts on target. Obviously, if you've had 8 shots with the possession that we've had and the chances we've had, you'd like to think that you'd be working the goalkeeper. Distance cover doesn't, because they're going to work hard, and I think the second half you'll see that getting even bigger. You know, because we're going to keep the ball, and at some point, we keep saying it, they're going to have to come out.
Why is that important, Paul? With the distance that they're covering? Because
they're going to tire, Trev. They're going to, as much as we're keeping the ball, the longer we've seen it here, don't we? If it has to go to the last 10, 15, 20 minutes of the game for us to score a goal, we'll do it, because the first thing that goes when you're tired as a player is your concentration levels.
Absolutely.
And all it takes, and we've seen my Man City, all it takes is for one defender, one player to switch off, and we're in. And that's always as the game goes on, that's what we want to do, is grind teams down.
I love those stats there that we're seeing the top 5 passing, obviously 5 of our players up there. And what I find interesting there, Andy, is that Griezmann is their 3rd player, so he's had the most passes, which probably shows what we were saying about the difference they've played in this half than they did in the first leg. Yeah,
the stats are staggering. That's Manchester City in a nutshell. You know, in our day, you'd have your midfielders. Ian Bishop would have, you know, the most touches in a half or in a game. It would always be a midfield player that was dictating it. We dictate play from our centre-halves. If they block off an area, we go back through our centre-halves. They have the most touches in the game, and then they recycle it, and then we start the process again. It's just a benchmark of how City play. I don't see a great deal of difference after that first 10-15 minutes from Madrid, you know, from the home game. You know, they're sat in now, and, you know, Suarez will come on. They'll flip to a 3-4-3. And that's when it'll open up. But we'll see that shape, I reckon, around 70 minutes. They'll go to 3-4-3, and Suarez will come on.
Right, we're going to have a look now at whose stat. We owe you the 3rd clue. Have you got it yet? There was only one person in the whole world that had it after clue 2. So just a little reminder for you. Clue 1. This player joined City from Atletico without playing a single minute for the Spanish side. Clue 2. This player was one of the 3 Argentinians in City's 13-14 title-winning season. Now, will clue 3 crack it for us all? This player reunited with Manuel Pellegrini at City after being together at Malaga. OK, so it's not who I thought it was.
I've got it.
Andy now has it.
Oh, I
now have it. You had it before?
I did have it before, but just off camera, he just shook my hand to say who it was, and after I've shook his hand, he just went tenor.
So I thought it was someone after the second clue. I've now changed my mind. Hashtag Man City. Let us know if you know who it is, and we'll see if we can get more than one guess. Now, looking ahead to the second half, Trev, we've had a question, and it's come from GSM Centre, who's asked, can we expect to see Fernandinho or Zinchenko on the pitch today?
I think certainly Fernandinho, you know, especially if we get a goal or two, I think he'll try and rest some of the midfielders' legs. And that could be somewhere where Rodri comes off, has a little rest, and bring Fernandinho on, and especially if he gets physical. Because I think if you want someone to back you up and put the foot in where they need to, I think you want him on the pitch. You know, he's got the not just the physical presence, he's got the experience, and he's quite an expert in dark arts. So I would say possibly Fernandinho. I'm not sure about Zinchenko. It depends how Cancelo does. But again, if we go in the lead, Cancelo might be a player that he might want to rest for Saturday. Especially
when him and Kev being yellow cards as well. You know, if we do go 1-2 up, 3-0 in aggregate, 2-0 in aggregate with 15-20 minutes to go.
I think it'd be sensible, wouldn't it?
They are going to get nasty. The longer the game gets on, the nastier it'll get.
We don't want Kevin getting any knocks.
We can see Luis Suarez is warming up inside the stadium right now. If he comes on, Andy, what difference will he make?
It's the dark arts will go to another level. You know, in them final moments, if he gets chances, he can do something magical. And I think he's got great strength as well. And people don't understand just how powerful he is. So anything that comes into him and around the box is going to stick. They can get runners from there. So it'll be interesting.
I think what he will do as well, I know he's 35 now, maybe lost a bit of his pace, but he will threaten him behind. You know, Atletico have...
He's a menace, isn't he?
Yeah, he won't run into the space that our centre-halves will leave him, which will cause a different problem in itself.
Well, one, you back off and all of a sudden the space in the middle of the park, so, yeah, he could cause a problem.
We've had a question in from Mudazer, which is a brilliant question. I love this. Should the Blues be a little bit more defensive if the score stays 0-0 for another 25 minutes or so? Should we take more shots from outside the box instead of waiting for the perfect opportunity?
I think that latter point is a really good point, because when you've got a deep block, I think one of the ways that you can suck people out is by getting a couple of pop shots on. And if you get it on target and start getting closer, you're going to suck people out. Little 1-2s, little third man runs around the box. So certainly we're not going to revert to a defensive team. It's not what Pep's all about. It's not his style, and I wouldn't have said that. We're probably not set up to do that. We've not got the players to do that.
No, the whole mentality since Pep's getting the club has been completely against that. But as in having more shots out the box, I think you've got people like Bruyne, Gundogan, Mahrez, just Phil Foden, you know, they're all capable of doing it. But the way we play is to get in around the box and to move people around to try and create little spaces to get down the side.
Just going back to that first point, you know, we're talking about defensive, should be more defensive. Pep's way of being defensive is by keeping the ball. So we will be defensive, but by controlling the ball and stopping them having the sacks.
Love that. Are you sticking with your prediction, Andy?
Yes.
OK. Love that. And that means we go through. So the teams are in the tunnel. A huge 45 minutes of football coming up. Can City get through to another semi-final of the Champions League? Hopefully we'll know in 45 minutes' time. We'll be back here at full time to assess everything that has happened. Back over to Ali Mann and Michael Brown for a huge 45 minutes of football. There you go, Ali.